I already know what you're gonna say. He's too skinny, he'll be trampled in the league. Can't wait to see him get postered, and so on. But people were saying these things even before he was playing at Gonzaga. But now we have his college career, team he's drafted on, and a few summer league games in the books. So let's dive into it. I think first it's important we break down and understand where OKC is at in contention and what direction they seem to be going in. The Thunder are trying to rebuild by adding good pieces around the floor and bench. Now I don't think I need to tell anyone that. I mean, there's a bunch of memes about the fact that OKC has so many first round picks over the next couple of years. But I actually want to play the Stephen A. Smith clip when Holmgren was drafted.
I get all of that, but I have to say this, Jalen. I have to say this, Shanae. Listen, with all of that being said, this is not the only great player that Sam Presti has drafted. We talk about Kevin Durant. We talk about Harden. We talk about Westbrook, Ibaka, Reggie Jackson. You acquired Paul George. You had Victor Oladipo. I mean, the list goes on and on. 0 championships. We know what Sam Presti brings to the table. He's an elite executive. We understand that. But when are we going to close the deal? I'm hoping Chet Holmgren can do that because somebody needs to in Oklahoma City. They always have great players.
So they have Giddey, they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right.
This is where you swing for the home run, Stephen A. This is the guy that you amass all of those picks when you see him in high school and he's going between his legs behind the back and he's leading the nation in blocks. Like, he has a chance to be like not only a terrific performer offensively, but a game changer defensively. And in transition is where he's really going to
Look what he did here as a 17-year-old.
He makes a good point that the Thunder have drafted many great all-star level talents over the years, yet they don't have a championship. This is where we have to make our own inferences and takes as to what happens next. Interestingly, I think the Thunder are trying to turn back the clock to the past, where a different type of basketball saw success, while combining it with a component of the modern age. Allow me to explain. In the past 10 seasons, the OKC Thunder's defensive rating has ranked in these positions in defensive rating. As you can see, they were ranked pretty high in defense for a couple years, or at least in the top 11 of the league every year. This had a great impact on their success, as they made the playoffs every year from 2012 to 2021, with the exception of only 2014. They even clinched the number 1 seed in 2012 and the number 2 and 3 seed repeatedly, with their average for the past 10 years sitting around the 4 to 5 range. However, they still haven't won a championship, so what gives? Up until the last couple years, every team that has won the championship has had just barely a higher defensive rating than OKC, or the best defensive rating entirely. The 2014 Spurs, the 2012 Heat, and so on. This changed around the Golden State Warriors championships of 2015 and 2017, and especially the Cleveland Cavaliers comeback in 2016. The game, as I've mentioned many times before, started to take an offensive turn. While defense has still shown its fair share of success, the 3-ball has been pushed to the forefront of basketball. With that being said, I think the Thunder are trying to combine players with fundamental defensive abilities, creating a good defensive rating for the team like in the past, mixed with 3-point shooters and shot creation in the modern era of basketball. Now I already know what you're going to say. What? This is a horrible take. Nobody on OKC can defend or shoot. All of their 3-point percentages are low 30s or even in the 20s. But again, this is a rebuilding process. So let's break down the roster in its entirety. Well, of course, focusing on the reason you clicked. How Chet Holmgren fits into everything. While it may seem impossible for the OKC Thunder to become a defensive powerhouse, let me again remind you that defense is on the decline for the whole league. If the Thunder increase their defensive rating at all, or even just keep their current stats as the league decreases, that means they move up comparatively. Also, with this decrease in defensive rating, the numbers are already extremely close. Right now, the Thunder sit at 17th at 111.7. However, if they can shave off even 2 points from this defensive rating to 109.7, they already jump up 8 spots to 9th, again in the top 10. Shave off the extra 0.7 from this 0.9 and they're in 7th place. Or shave off 3 points from the original 111.7 to 108.7, and they're top 5 with some of the best defensive teams of the Miami Heat, the Cavs, and the 2 finalists this last postseason. Now, of course, the players on the roster such as Giddey or SGA currently don't have the best defensive ratings, but the Thunder just acquired 3 new players that could help in this venture. So let's get started with the reason you're here. Chet Holmgren is a very controversial player right now. Like we said in the beginning, he still has a lot of negative hysteria around him, but despite all that's been said, he was still the number 2 pick. With Holmgren's size, despite being skinny, it should be obvious that his defense is his biggest asset. In his Summer League debut, Holmgren recorded 6 blocks, a record for the Summer League, and well, this was his reaction.
Yes, he does protect your back. A new Summer League record for blocks. We talked about your competitive spirit. Only 6. That's a record.
Oh, well, I'm coming to break it again. So.
On top of the 6 blocks, Chet Holmgren also had 7 rebounds as well, showing his ability to be aggressive getting boards, again, despite him being as easy to snap as a twig. Against the Grizzlies, Holmgren had less blocks but had a double-double with 12 rebounds. Holmgren's defensive abilities are what could propel this team to that next level and increase their defensive rating. In that double-double, Chet Holmgren also had 11 points. Combine that with the fact that Holmgren scored 23 points in his debut, and we start to see another strength of his. Holmgren can space the floor. Now I know that seems weird to say about a center, but this is why he's being compared to KD and Porzingis. While Chet is tall and big enough to get boards under the rim, his weight does play into how he plays. Chet doesn't use his body to post up in the paint or overpower defenders the same way Giannis or LeBron would. Most of Chet's points in the paint come from fast breaks or through the lane passes where the defense has little time to react. Instead, Holmgren gets his points from the mid-range and beyond the arc. Holmgren has a 39 3-point percentage with an average 3.5 attempts per game. While these attempts may seem low, he shot 4 for 6 in his 23-point game and is comparable to another player. While Karl Anthony Towns is much larger and has a frame to play aggressively, he plays a similar role to the Timberwolves by spacing the floor and making threes even at his larger position, with 39 3-point percentage shooting just like Chet, with only slightly more attempts at 4.1 per game, leading him to be the first center to win the 3-point contest. Chet's 3-point ability, while he may be a center, will help space the floor and create more points for the Thunder. To wrap everything up with Chet, let me just leave this for those that are still skeptical. While with Gonzaga, despite being quote-unquote too skinny, he averaged nearly a double-double, just 0.1 shy, while also averaging almost 4 blocks a game, as well as having the following records. He was the first in Gonzaga history in blocks in an NCAA tournament game with 7 versus Georgia State. He was first in the West Coast Conference in blocks per game at 3.66, first in West Coast Conference in rebounds per game, 9.9, again just 0.1 shy of a double-double. He was tied for first in Gonzaga history for blocks in the season at 117. He was tied for first in Gonzaga history in rebounds in an NCAA tournament game, which again is 17 versus Georgia State. And he was 4th in Gonzaga history in blocks in an NCAA tournament at 13, and 4th in the country in blocks per game, again at 3.66. Let's not forget as well to add his block record from Summer League recently again too. Chet has done a lot on both defense and the offensive end of the floor, and that will surely help the Thunder. Now this script is already getting to be a bit long at a few pages, so I'll touch on the other picks just quickly. Jalen Williams, J.A., not J.A.Y., brings similar needed skills to the Thunder, but in a different way. William adds defense, but instead of blocks, he gets steals, currently averaging 1.3 out of college. Williams also spaces the floor as well, coming in with a 39 3-point percentage on 3 attempts. Again, going back to the 3-and-D that I was talking about. Ousmane Dieng, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize, doesn't have great stats per game, but when looking at individual games, we can see a solid progression that the Thunder hope to build on and take into his NBA level career, going from scoring only 3 points to 18 points with the same minutes per game, as well as having up to 4 steals in his recent game. Dieng's shooting is very finicky, going 1 for 4 some nights, but also going 4 for 6 other nights. His ability to progress can help develop him at the professional level if the Thunder decide to keep him. With these picks, as well as many picks to come later down the line, we could soon be looking at a completely different Thunder team soon. If the Thunder decide to get more 3-point shooters, who knows? Maybe the Thunder start to look like the 2022 Celtics. But again, that's a stretch. Just had to throw some spice on the video at the end. Anyway, that's all I got for this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. If you enjoyed this one, please hit subscribe and share the video around, as we're trying to hit 500 subs by the end of the year. We're on almost 400, so we're just a little over 100 away. We can really hit it by the end of this year if y'all decide to support, so it would be greatly appreciated. And with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.